Hello friends, welcome to today's operating system class, and in this lecture we will see the operating system debugging that will come under first unit. And in today's class we will discuss something about the failure analysis and the performance tuning. Before that, let us discuss something about debugging. What is debugging? Debugging is the activity of finding and fixing errors in the system. Okay, bug means error. Bug means error. Debugging means finding and fixing the errors. That is removing errors in the system that may be either in hardware or in software. Wherever it may be, we need to remove the errors, then it is called as debugging. Here, the performance problem is also considered as bugs. If the system is performing low, then there may be an error. So debugging can also include performance tuning, that is improving the performance, which seeks to improve performance by removing the bottlenecks. In debugging, first let us discuss something about the failure analysis. Here, if a process fails, the operating system will write the error information to a log file to alert the system operator or user that problem occurred. That is, all the error messages will be written into log file, and the operating system will also take a core dump. Dump means memory. Okay, to capture the memory of the process. Okay, the process memory will be taken into the core dump and store it in a file for later analysis. Every information will be stored in that core dump file also. Then the running programs and core dumps can be used by the debugger. Who is the debugger here? The programmer to know about the code and memory of the process. A debugging user level process is very easy when compared to debugging the kernel programs, because the size and complexity of the kernel and the kernel control of the hardware and lack of user level debugging tools. The debugging tools are very complicated in kernel debugging. If there is a failure in kernel, which is called as crash, system will be crashed. If crash occurs, the error information is saved to log file and the memory state is saved to crash dump. There are different tools used for operating system debugging and process debugging. Okay, if kernel fails, then the file system code is risky. That is, the kernel tries to save its state to a file on the file system before booting. That is, if there is a failure in kernel, then the kernel have to save its state, that is the previous state before rebooting the system. Then only we can find at what state the kernel get failed, right? If the kernel detects an unrecoverable error, then it writes the entire content of memory to the disk area for further analysis. When the system reboots, the process runs to gather the data from the area and write to the crash dump file within the file system for future analysis. The next process of debugging is performance tuning. As we already seen, the performance tuning is improve the performance by removing the bottlenecks. Bottlenecks in the processing, right? To identify the bottlenecks, we have to monitor the system performance by producing the trace list of the system behavior. That is how the system is behaved, everything will be listed in the trace listing, and all events are logged. That is, for every event we have to monitor the time of their event and parameters. Everything will be written to their file, right? Then the analysis program can process the log file. In the log file only everything will be stored, isn't it? To determine the system performance and to identify the bottleneck and inefficiencies. Hence, the trace, that is the list of tracing, which helps to find the errors in operating system behavior. The another approach of performance tuning is single purpose interactive tools, which allow the user or administrator to question the state of various system components. That is, we need to maintain the system components of various tools. Hence, we can easily identify the bottlenecks. And some other tools which are used to display the state of disk, I/O, memory allocation, and network traffic. Up to this, we have discussed the operating system debugging. Under this, we have seen the failure analysis and performance tuning. And now the question time. Students, please write the answer of what is the purpose of log files and write the answer in the comment box. Thank you.